Hey YouTube, it's Beverly, and I'm back again today with another exciting chapter snippet from my book, Gezebel. I hope you've been following my videos, and I hope you will reward my efforts by reading my book, buying my book, and enjoying my book, and sharing my book with others, okay? I know, hey, there's so many things out there today that we are worried about. So I look at my novel as a way to escape from all of the horrible news of what's going on in the world and just get away into fantasy and have a laugh, have a cry, and enjoy yourself reading my book. So today I am up to chapter 43. So let's get into it without further ado. Okay. Gezebel was driven to an impressive estate in the district of Winnington, not far from London. Manicured lawns girdle the home, and the shrubs were sculpted into traditional shapes. Gezebel stood anxiously outside the towering brick home and waited for the driver to remove her bags from the vehicle. He set the bags on the ground close to her feet and drove away. Gezebel contemplated her next move and rang the doorbell. Gezebel, what a surprise! It's so good to see you, Cece exclaimed in a heavy British accent. Now, Cece is Jezebel's uncle's Jeffrey's wife, the designer, and the woman who's come up with her fragrance collection. Fragrance. I'm moving right along. Gezebel followed Cece through the lovely home that reflected Cece's keen eye for texture, color, and design. The home had 8 bedrooms, 7 baths, a pool, a gym, and reception areas. Various degrees and awards lined the walls of the corridors and boasted of the family's various accomplishments. Cece advised Gezebel she could stay in the guest room of her choice, and she selected one close to where the boys slept. She unpacked quickly because the boys would be home from school soon, and she didn't want to be distracted from the task at hand. Gezebel joined Cece in the kitchen after she unpacked and found her preparing dinner. Moving right along. Gezebel, why did you leave your family? How could you leave your son? Cece asks in an accusatory manner. Hell, here we go again, a miffed Jezebel thought to herself. I left because I needed to live my own life. I'm not proud of what I did, but I can't change the past. Gezebel replied in an exasperated tone. She wished the family would just kind of like get over this, okay? It's done. Like, get over it, people, okay? Baron and your family deserve better. Cece reprimanded her harshly. Gezebel remained silent. Why should she lament about something that happened 3 years ago? Baron wasn't left on a stranger's doorstep. He wasn't left destitute and hungry. He was left in the care of her family. So what was the big deal? Moving right along. Sissy, I auditioned for the job knowing nothing about your perfume line. After my audition, that irresponsible coordinator, what's her name again? Oh, yeah, Sophie. She left documents in one of the changing rooms with details about the fragrance, and that's how I found out. While I was changing, I overheard Sophie complaining to the crew about being overworked and underpaid. She joked about leaking information to the press just to earn a few bucks. Sophie said you were ignorant about what was happening on the New York fashion scene. She said, and I quote, "A black woman could never create a fragrance with universal appeal." And this perfume wasn't good enough to freshen up the dead. Can you imagine you hired an agent to represent your fragrance and to represent your ambitions, and you're paying them good money, and your husband's niece is telling you this is what she overheard when she auditioned for the job by the same agent you hired? Gezebel? But you've got to buy the book so that you can find out the in-betweens and how this all came to be to this point. So go on out and get that book today. Moving on along. Let's skip through. Okay. Gezebel, I don't know how to thank you for flying all the way from New York to tell me this. I will relieve Sophie from her dowdy duties and find a suitable replacement. I don't have much time, Sissy stated miserably. Aw, Gezebel. Later that day, before the sun set on Gezebel's manipulative heart, a bewildered Sophie was fired, and the hunt was on for her replacement. Gezebel's plan worked better than she hoped. Sissy was vulnerable, and Gezebel made her next move. She entered a spacious basement that Sissy transformed into a fashion design studio. This is where Sissy's creativity came alive. Here, her designs were birthed in yards of silk, satins, cottons, and spandex. Fabric dyes were placed on shelves constructed against the walls, and velvety mannequins stood in various poses with their bodies draped in colorful fabrics. Sequins, measuring tapes, and trimmings littered the sturdy fabric cutting table where Sissy was in the process of putting her Midas touch on a piece. Gezebel leaned on the table and pretended to inspect the sequin gown Sissy was working on. Sissy was engrossed in a heated discussion on the phone. Yes, I understand that finding a replacement on such short notice is difficult, but it must be done. I'll be waiting for your call. Sissy sighed and hung up, moving right along. Sissy, I've been thinking, Gezebel remarked pensively. Gezebel, I don't want to talk about Sophie, Sissy stated in a sharp voice. Introduction of her fragrances was in limbo because of Sophie, and Sissy felt betrayed. Oh, Sissy, if I didn't rat on that backstabbing witch, you wouldn't be going through this. I feel responsible for this mess, Jezebel stated meekly. She wanted Sissy to feel as though she owed her. Gezebel, please, this is not your fault, Sissy assured her. Sissy, I'll represent the fragrance, Gezebel suggested and held her breath. She just wormed her way into a job, just wormed her way into the job. She hired herself, got herself hired. Sissy looked at Gezebel in wonder, and her expression changed from one of misery to one of elation. That It's a terrific idea. No kidding. Well, that's all for this chapter. I will see you in the next. Bye, YouTube.